What if you're living a life of luxury, power, and respect, and then suddenly it's all taken away? This happened once with an Iranian queen. But even after decades in exile, this queen has never given up on her throne. Today, we will talk about the incredible story of Queen Farah Pahlavi, Iran's last queen, who may be closer than ever to reclaim her legacy. How could she possibly return to a country that once forced her out? And why is her story stirring up so much hope and controversy now? Stay tuned, because this is a comeback you have to see to believe. First, take a look at who is Farah Pahlavi. Born in Tehran in 1938, Farah wasn't born into royalty. She was just a young girl with dreams, growing up in a regular middle-class family. But fate had big plans for her. She ended up marrying Shah Muhammad Reza Pahlavi and became Iran's queen. And she wasn't just a queen in the title. Farah was a leader who connected with her people, dedicating herself to improving arts, education, and social welfare across Iran. But here's where the story takes a turn. Everything changed when the Iranian Revolution hit in 1979. The Pahlavi family was forced into exile, leaving their country, their home, and their people behind. Farah went from queen to exile almost overnight, losing everything she'd built in Iran. But despite being away for over 40 years, she's never stopped being Iran's queen in the hearts of so many people. So how does a queen in exile still hold on to that kind of loyalty? And why, after all this time, are some people still wondering if she might make a return? Keep watching, because Farah's story is just getting started, and it's filled with unexpected twists. So you'd think life in exile would mean disappearing quietly into the background, right? But not for Queen Farah Pahlavi. After the revolution, when the Pahlavis were forced to leave Iran, she didn't just fade into the shadows. Farah, along with her family, found refuge in several countries, first Egypt, then Morocco, and eventually settling in the United States. Instead of feeling defeated, Farah held on to her identity, staying connected to her roots and the people of Iran in spirit. Now here's where it gets interesting. Even in exile, Farah never let go of her heritage or her role as a cultural figure. She carried the soul of Iran with her, continuing to support Persian art, culture, and humanitarian projects. From sponsoring exhibitions of Iranian art to supporting charities that promote Persian culture, she's kept that connection alive for both Iranians and for her children and grandchildren. But Farah isn't just remembered for her work. People still look up to her for the grace and dignity she's shown through all these years. She's become a living symbol for many Iranians, especially those who remember the old Iran or dream of a better one. To them, Farah represents resilience, pride, and all that Iran once stood for. She's not just a former queen, she's a reminder of a cultural identity that many feel has been lost. So why does this matter now? Why is Farah Pahlavi still so significant, especially today? That's where things get intriguing. There's a new conversation growing, one that's been quietly building for years. Could there be a place for the Pahlavis in Iran's future? Could Farah ever return to her homeland? So why is Farah Pahlavi's name coming up now, after all these years? There are rumors about the possibility of a monarchy again. But there's a real sense of longing in Iran for the stability, culture, and values of the past. Now, while it's not as simple as snapping fingers and bringing back a royal family, this conversation is catching on in ways we haven't seen before. And here's where it gets interesting. Farah's son, Reza Pahlavi, has become a leading figure for Iranian opposition groups. He's become a voice for those pushing for change and democracy, and he's gathered a following of Iranians who see him as a beacon of hope. And Farah? Well, she stepped into the role of a respected matriarch, a living connection to Iran's past, someone Iranians still respect and look up to. Even now, Farah carries herself with that elegance and dignity that people remember her for. She's not just a figure from history, she's a living symbol. For those who look back at Iran's history, she represents everything they feel has been lost: the culture, the pride, the resilience. It's as if she's become an anchor to a piece of Iran's soul, and for many, she embodies what they wish could come back. So why now? Why are these discussions even happening? Well, there's a growing belief among some Iranians that a return to some form of monarchy, or at least a connection to the values of that time, might be what Iran needs. Farah herself hasn't actively pushed for a return, but her presence, her guidance, and her role as a figure of stability mean everything to those who dream of a different Iran. And this raises the question, what would a return actually look like? Is it even possible? Could Farah or her family truly reclaim a place in Iran? Or is this just a distant hope? Stick around, because now we are going to talk about what a return could mean. And it's not as straightforward as you might think. All right, so let's talk about what this return really means. It's not like Farah Pahlavi would go back and just pick up her crown. Those days are long gone. But there's another kind of return, a symbolic one, a reconnection. For a lot of Iranians, just seeing her be part of their lives again, after all these years, would be nice. Think about it, guys. Farah could return to a place where she's seen as a piece of Iran's history, a living memory of a time when things felt different for so many people. This doesn't mean she'd hold political power, but maybe, just maybe, she could visit the places she once loved, openly honor her family's legacy, and reconnect with her roots. And honestly, her presence alone would be so powerful. After years in exile, Farah would be coming back, not as a ruler, but as a symbol, a motherly figure for a nation that's changed so much since she left. Imagine her visiting Tehran, walking through old streets and connecting with people who still see her as a part of Iran's soul. For many, it wouldn't just be a visit. It would feel like a piece of their lost past coming back to life. With her son, Reza, now a recognized voice among opposition groups, there's a sense that the Pahlavi name still holds weight. Together, they could represent a bridge between Iran's past and future. People are talking, they're curious, and many are open to the idea of Farah and her family having a role in Iran's journey forward, even if it's just a symbolic one. So, would she be queen again? No, not in the traditional sense. But Farah would be reclaiming a part of her story, a part of her people, and in a way that might be just as meaningful. Now, before we wrap today's video, let's talk about why Farah Pahlavi's legacy isn't just history. Farah didn't just live through exile. She lived through some of life's most painful losses. Her husband, the Shah, passed away in exile, far from the land he ruled. And later, she endured the heartbreak of losing 2 of her children. It's a tragedy that would crush most, but Farah remained strong, holding on to her dignity and her roots. What's inspiring about Farah isn't just her titles or the life she once led. It's the way she's stayed true to herself, to her people, and her values, even in exile. For a lot of Iranians, especially those who remember or long for the Iran of old, Farah represents a time when things felt different. They see in her the Iran they dream of, a place of culture, resilience, and pride. And even though she's physically separated from her homeland, Farah's connection to Iran has never faded. Farah's work in art, culture, and humanitarian causes keeps her connected to her heritage, and she's passed that pride on to future generations, including her son Reza, who is now a prominent figure for Iranian opposition groups. Farah Pahlavi's story is about way more than royalty or lost titles. Whether or not she ever makes it back to Iran in a formal way, she's left an impact that goes beyond borders. Do you think it's possible to carry your culture, your identity, and your heritage, even when you're far from home? Let us know in the comments below. If this story moved you, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share it with anyone who needs a story of hope and strength. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.